Coming up on Network Africa. South African opposition party Economic Freedom Fighters revive impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa in Farmgate. Namibia votes for new president in the most competitive election seen in decades. Plus, 4 employees of Canadian mining company in Mali arrested over $500 million in alleged unpaid taxes. Welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. As South Africa prepares to host the G20 in 2025 next year, experts believe it should focus on addressing the economic challenges facing the African continent. In an exclusive interview with Channels Television, the Chief Executive Officer of the Development Bank of Southern Africa, DBSA, Boitumelo Mosako, stated that South Africa should use the opportunity to help Africa's economy. The country will be taking on the G20 presidency under the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability.
One of the key things that I want South Africa to advocate for is obviously the reforms of the multilateral development banks, the reforms around the global financial architecture. Those are the key things that I think we need to focus on, because those are things that really impact how financial and capital flows into the continent. This will enable us to close the infrastructure gap much faster.
South African opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, is trying to revive impeachment proceedings against President Cyril Ramaphosa over the scandal dubbed Farmgate by local media. The party brought a case to the country's top court on Tuesday on the scandal centered on the alleged theft of millions of dollars hidden in furniture on Ramaphosa's Fala Fala game farm, which a former intelligence official revealed to police. An independent panel reports found evidence that President Ramaphosa may have committed misconduct over the incident. However, the president has always denied wrongdoing over the affair and has not been charged with any crime.
Inside the court, we're arguing that Ramaphosa must be held accountable in Parliament. And our lawyers have presented a solid case against the corrupt Ramaphosa, who had 8.7 million under the sofas in his house at Palapala. Ramaphosa, even when the money was stolen at his farm, he never opened a criminal case. He never went to police station and reported the stolen money. Why? Because Ramaphosa knows that that money was illegal money.
We're still in South Africa, where a 49-year-old New Zealand man was killed while visiting his parents in the country on Monday. He was visiting alongside his girlfriend and only child. Reports from local media outlets say Eugene Robbermond was protecting his parents from a robbery after the assailants had followed them home from the bank on Mostert Street in Monte Vista, a suburb outside Cape Town. Robbermond tried to stop the suspects during the robbery using a sledgehammer and was fatally wounded and killed. The Monte Vista Neighborhood Watch group said he tried to stop the robbery, and police have said they have tracked the car used by the 3 suspects, but no arrests have been made so far. Well, let's unpack all that's happening in South Africa. Joining us now is our correspondent, Innocent Samosa, for more. Hello, Innocent. Let's begin with the hearing that started on Tuesday on the case that is reviving Farmgate.
Yeah, indeed, Layo. A very good afternoon to you and our viewers around the world. It's good to be with you once again.
What more can you tell us about Tuesday's proceedings and, what to expect in the coming days?
Yeah, so the judges had arguments from both sides, from Ramaphosa's side and from the opposition party's side. And it took long. It was a long proceeding where you would recall that the members of the economic freedom fighters were outside court waiting for their leader, Julius Malema, to come and address them after the proceedings. And indeed, he addressed them. He touched on several topics, really, not only the ones that they were there for, but also the issues around the spaza shops, the registrations of the spaza shops. He went as far as to say that they should also go to, the likes of ShopRite, the likes of Pick and Pay, and search if whether or not these people are selling expired goods or not. And he also went as far, as you heard from that clip, that he feels that Ramaphosa, the parliament did not do due diligence in terms of, investigating this matter. So therefore, they felt that, it's time for him to really to account to what they feel that he has really done wrong. And here it's just allegations. They're alleging, because we do know that the financial watchdog in the country, the police, the Reserve Bank have all cleared President Ramaphosa. So again, they're reviving this one. But going back to your question, what can we expect ahead? At times, this processes, Layo, they take long. They take long, sometimes months, sometimes weeks, for these judges to come up with a verdict. So I guess for now is a waiting game to hear what the judges had to say about this matter of Phala. Layo?
And what do, other parties, opposition parties, feel about, either EFF asking that this case be brought back, and especially the DA that's in a joint national government, joint government of national unity with the ANC?
Yeah, indeed. In fact, it's quite funny because the Democratic Alliance were, there were the people who were actually spearheading the issues of Phala. And now, because they are in government with the African National Congress, as you rightly alluded to, in the government of national unity, so it does seem as though it is now blocking them to really try to speak against President Ramaphosa, because now they're in government together. But it does really put them in a very disadvantaged position, because they would have to then protect President Ramaphosa, whether they like it or not. But at the same time, we see the EFF really trying to gain more relevance with this issue, because it does seem as though many political parties, civil society groups, have really let it go, because he is exonerated by all of these bodies, the watchdogs and the financial watchdog, and also the police. So they feel that it's time now to revive these topics. Topic of Phala, perhaps it can gain them more, relevance in the society, I guess, because you would know that the EFF is facing lots of challenges at this point in time, an exodus of, big personalities in the party leaving to MK party. So it leaves the economic freedom fighters very much vulnerable. So they're going back to their strategy again of, holding the executive accountable. And in that, you would recall that with Zuma, they were saying, pay back the money, pay back the money. It was a slogan that really, have sustained them for a long time. So perhaps now they feel that it's time again to go back to the same strategy that has helped them to in the previous years, to gain more relevance in the society. But again, I guess it is a good thing to hold the executive accountable, but again, this has to be done with respect, and they don't have to now allege that he's indeed corrupt. Until the court says he's corrupt, then he's indeed corrupt.
Yes, indeed, in a sense, but thank you so much. We'll leave it at that. Innocent Samosa, our correspondent in South Africa.
All right. Thank you so much, colleague, for having me.
Well, voting is underway in Namibia in what could be the most competitive election since independence from white-ruled South Africa 34 years ago. The polls began at 7 a.m. and are due to conclude by 9 p.m. local time. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah from the ruling Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, is seeking to become the country's first female president. Well, if she succeeds, she will replace Hage Geingob, who died in February after 9 years in office. Her main challenger is Panduleni Itula of the Independent Patriots for Change Party and 14 other candidates. Well, another party winning the election could mean the country's first transition of power to a new party since the country gained independence from apartheid South Africa in 1990. A candidate requires more than 50% of the vote for an outright victory.
I'm echoing also what the president has said by calling on all Namibians who registered to come out in their numbers and vote. You must know voting is not just your constitutional responsibility, but it is also your national responsibility.
Let the people decide. Today they decide, and they will tell us how they feel in their hearts, how they feel in their mind, and how they want their future to be.
4 employees of Canada's Barrick Gold ABX deal have been charged and detained pending trial in Mali. In a statement released by the company, it says it refutes the charges against its employees without detailing what they are. It also adds that it would continue to engage with Mali's government to find an amicable settlement and secure the release of the detainees. Mali's Mines Ministry says it is not directly involved in this case, but it's being handled by the Economy and Finance Ministry and also the Justice Ministry's Economic Division. The West African country is demanding about $500 million in unpaid taxes from Barrick as the government tries to wring more income from the mining sector. Australia's Resolute Mining, RSGAX, has had a similar incident last week in which their employees were detained by the Malian government but were later released. They left the capital Bamako after the miner agreed to pay $160 million to the Malian government to help resolve the tax dispute. We're back here in Nigeria. The Nigerian Navy and its French counterpart have jointly executed this year's edition of Exercise Crocodile Lift to test the amphibious capacity of their personnel. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, who flagged off the day exercise, urged naval personnel to keep building capacity, hone their skills, and ensure they uphold their constitutional role of securing the nation's maritime domain. Our correspondent Chris Illems reports.
I hereby flag off Exercise Crocodile Lift 2024.
It all starts here on board the NNS Kada. The 2024 edition of Exercise Crocodile Lift, a joint maritime exercise between the French and the Nigerian Navy. It is geared towards strengthening coordination in the fight against maritime insecurity. The Chief of Naval Staff is here represented by the flag officer commanding NAVTRAC.
This exercise is similar to the just concluded exercise Grand African Nemo. However, the slight difference is in the form mainly simulating on VBSS, legal fishing, and crocodile lift is focused on developing skills for amphibious operation.
This multinational maritime exercise is being facilitated by the French government, and the Consul General Lagos says It's part of strengthening the ties that has existed between France and Nigeria.
Since the election of President Tinubu, believe me, we have had no fewer than 4 ministerial visits to Nigeria, including the one of our Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Next phase is the simulation of amphibious operations meant to boost capacity towards safeguarding the Gulf of Guinea. The personnel who arrive by air, land and water are set for a hostage-taking situation and recovery of the victims. The idea is that the collaboration between the navies will boost capacity against such eventualities.
All these are done in furtherance of our collaborative efforts, both jointly and internationally, to secure the Gulf of Guinea, which is very, very key to our economic survival as a nation. So again, once again, we thank the Chief of the Naval Staff for always giving us the much needed support to undertake these exercises, and we're glad that it was a success.
The mission is successfully executed. The maritime domain holds a lot of promises for countries of the Gulf of Guinea. So whatever it takes to keep the Navy a step ahead of illegal operations has to be done right for the preservation of the nation's blue economy. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Welcome back to the program. Over 700 trucks are on their way to famine-stricken areas of Sudan as part of a major scale-up after clearance came through the Sudanese government. The World Food Programme is in charge of this, saying in total the trucks carry about 17,500 tons of food assistance, and this is enough to feed 1.5 million people for 1 month. Some of the food is intended for 14 areas of the country that face famine or at risk of famine, including Zamzam Camp in the Darfur region. The army and the paramilitary rapid support forces have been locked in conflict in Sudan since April 2023, and this has caused acute hunger and disease across the country.
More than 700 trucks are currently of WFP food aid are currently en route to communities across Sudan. This includes to 14 areas that are either facing famine or at risk of famine, and it's part of a major scale-up effort to reach millions of people in the country's most needy and isolated conflict areas. In total, the trucks are carrying about 17,500 tons of assistance, enough for about 1.5 million people for 1 month. It is now the dry season, so between basically July and end of September, it was extremely difficult due to the physical road conditions to be able to transport aid. Then additionally, we've received around 700 clearances from the government in Sudan, from the Humanitarian Aid Commission, to start to move and transport assistance to some of these hard to reach areas. And bureaucratic impediments had also been one of our greatest challenges. And so those clearances came through. My colleagues on the ground in Zamzam camp told me that people were lined up on the side of the road cheering as these trucks rolled in. They tell me that people in the camp are resorting to extreme measures to survive because food is so scarce. Families are eating crushed peanut shells, which are usually used as animal fodder. Across the camp, there are also parents who are mourning the deaths of their children who passed away from malnutrition. While the amount of aid in this convoy is just a drop in the ocean compared to the need, these trucks are delivering hope to people in Zamzam who have been facing and battling famine all on their own, cut off from aid for many months.
In South Sudan, Kajo-KG residents continue to suffer from persistent insecurity which has plagued the region. Unfortunately, civilians have either been directly targeted or caught in the crossfire of conflicts between armed forces. Peacekeepers serving with the United Nations mission in South Sudan are working to deter conflict by providing a protective presence and intensive engagement with local authorities, and it's to create a stable environment where recovery and development can take place. Well, after several failed attempts to travel by road, the mission launched an air patrol to assess the situation.
We had to touch base with the SSPDF deputy commander in the absence of the commander. He gave us an overview of the general security situation. He informed that generally the security is good, with the exception of few attacks here and there from, he called them hold-up groups who are basically operating outside of Kajo-KG across the border. They come occasionally and attack civilians, basically. And then they, according to him and also the NSS boss, these people walk through the bushes and cross the border and come conduct their activities, which is usually attacks on civilians, and then hide their weapons and go back to Uganda.
These are groups of people who move and then just cause insecurity in specific places. Sometimes we take them as people who come to raid markets and they take money and other property. For the civilians, they are normal, despite the fact that the insecurity accident have made some of the people to go back to the...
We are okay. As you have seen, Udu is now okay. And can see every day people are coming. There's vehicles going to the camp. After coming there, it just come full. And you find some people come with the goats, then it's mean that people are coming back to Kajo-KG.
Residents of Mogadishu, Somalia's capital, are showing their support of the one-person, one-vote electoral system. Well, many took to the streets on Tuesday to show their support after the Somali parliament confirmed a bill on election amendments over the weekend. And it's moving towards universal suffrage after decades of clan-based voting system. Among the demonstrators is Fatima Noor. She's a resident of Mogadishu who says she is in support of the proposed electoral changes. The picketers carried banners or the Somali flag and chanting slogans. The country had initially been scheduled to move to direct voting back in 2020, but protracted squabbles among politicians and persistent insecurity across the country forced the government to retain the indirect ballot. And we end the program in South Africa, where the National Association of Nigerian Students in Diaspora recently hosted the Nigerian Students in Diaspora and Africa Youth Leadership Global Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. The theme was enhancing socio-economic growth.
Greatest Nigerian student!
The event included a variety of sessions such as panel discussions, cultural exchange, policy dialogues, and focused topics on entrepreneurship, governance, networking, and sustainable development goals. In her keynote address, President of the Nigerian Union in South Africa, Doris Ikeri Soralin, discussed the importance of women's leadership in an unequal world.
Women's leadership is not just a matter of equality, but a necessity for global stability and progress. Let's begin by acknowledging the undeniable truth. Diversity in leadership leads to better decision making.
I asked the delegates whether Africa is making progress in achieving equitable and quality education, and this is what they had to say.
Indeed, we are making a substantial progress. The only thing that we need to do as an African continent is to harness the talents, to harness the potentials that we have. Africa's got potential, so now what is left for now is to harness those potentials that are inherent in the African students and the youths in general.
Yes, we are making a whole lot of progress because as much as I can tell you, Nigerian students all over the world, there is no place you go to that you won't find them, and they are doing amazingly well, and a good ambassador.
A message for African youth.
Okay, the message I have for Nigerian students is to be the change they want to see. Don't just wait for change, be that change. Also, as Nigerians, as youth, and as Nigerians in diaspora, we need to work on ourselves, our character, and we need to invest the skills that we have.
Oh, how we just said, we should just be a great ambassador, and then we should believe in ourselves, and we should not allow the environment to influence us. We should represent our country. Believe in yourself, what you have, deposit it, engage with it, and then don't stop to build capacity.
The discussions and collaborations sparked during this event have set the stage for continued dialogue and action among African youth, especially Nigerian students in the diaspora, with the shared goal of enhancing socio-economic growth. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Simos, Channels Television News.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.